people can just drop off, and then I will sort of review whatever needs to be done, send them a quote, and then they will approve it or not. And then once it's done or they want to just come and pick it up, we just reverse the process for the drop box. I have had one phone call about ring sizings, and we're not really comfortable to get into doing that yet because we really want to keep this fairly hands-off. And we can do custom because we can do, and we're going to use Zoom as our sort of communication platform, except for the one person that lives in Taiwan, and Zoom is outlawed in Taiwan. So we will have to do that through Messenger or something like that. That's kind of interesting, but anyway. Yeah, so this is what we're planning on doing. So, but right now I'm busy painting and renovating my office. So.
Thanks, Carol. Derek.
Good morning. It's Derek Halliday from Acme Signs and Graphics, Brockville. Currently, it's about 3 months in its infancy, I guess, as a full-time home-based business. Right now, I am doing some work, certainly not what I had hoped, but given the circumstances, you know, I'm okay with it right now. It gives me an opportunity to get my ducks in a row and book work and all that good stuff. So I am taking advantage of some of the slower time, but as the weather warms up, people are bringing their toys out, their boats, their four-wheelers, their vehicles. So I am getting calls now. Some of the advertising I've been doing is kind of getting a little return, not a lot, but hey, it all helps. So yeah, basically just probably working about, I would say 3 days a week in terms of hours. I'm doing something every day, but really it's not steady 5 days, you know, 9 to 5 or whatever. So.
Thanks, Derek. Caitlin, you're next.
Hi guys, Caitlin from Brock Wellness. I am still currently closed, although that seems it may be in the works that things may be coming back around. Just that sorry, I've lost the image of you guys. We have some stuff coming down from the pipe from Ministry of Health that they may be bringing back healthcare practitioners. So our chiropractor will be opening back up probably for regular hours starting on Monday. And we're still waiting for the College of Massage Therapy to decide or give us any kind of guidance on whether or not we'll be opening. So we're kind of right on the cusp of, we're not sure if we're opening, but it could be really soon. So we're kind of in a waiting game, a little more anticipation though right now.
Thanks, Caitlin. Priscilla.
Hi, I'm Priscilla from Made by Bees. So I live in a farm just north of Brockville where I operate my business selling on 3 platforms, really, online and to retailers and at markets. So what this has meant for me is my online is still going on as usual. Wholesalers obviously have quietened down a lot, but quite a few of them have created their own online stores, so continued to sell my products through that. And then obviously my markets were all shut down, my spring market, so that was very quiet. However, quite a few of them are turning into virtual markets, which I've taken part in 2 of them now, and they've been quite successful, so that's been good. I'm still quite busy working on and developing new products and updating my website and doing all of that kind of stuff, as well as creating a really good wholesale system that I've been meaning to do for a while. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Nice. Thanks, Priscilla. It's nice to have you here. Melissa.
Melissa Danny, I own Peak Performance Training and Nutrition. I'm still closed. I have no idea when I'll be able to open again. I am hoping. I am hoping I can open. That he's going to say something tomorrow in regards to what this is going to look like for fitness and whatnot. I've been doing online boot camps, trying to keep everybody accountable in that regard. I'm doing a lot of re-education stuff. I'm actually taking a course on being an online trainer because I don't like to do things half-assed. So I'm learning how to do that properly. It could be a new term. And just kind of floating and waiting for what's going on. My biggest thing is I wish I knew how to prepare for all of this because people can't wear masks when they work out. They're gonna I'll have people passing out, so that's not okay. So it's just a waiting game still for me.
Thanks, Melissa. Richard, you're on mute.
There we go. Hi, my name is Richard Sartre. I'm the owner of Sustainable Success Strength Training, helping people to live stronger, longer, get as strong as possible, as safely as possible, and as little time as possible. And I've been doing virtually all virtual training, which is actually going quite well. And actually got new clients recently, and other clients that weren't originally taking advantage of it or coming around, and just taking everything day by day.
Thanks, Richard. Eleonora, last but not least.
Morning, everyone. I'm Eleonora Luberto. I'm the owner and lead photographer at Gemin Photography. As a headshot and branding specialist, I create compelling and authentic images for people who hate having their photos taken. So we're still closed, and right now photographers are a little bit of a gray area and falling between the cracks with the reopenings. So some of us have, a front entrance. Some of us can be considered retail. It's a mixed bag for photographers, but right now we're still closed, and I anticipate that when we get the go-ahead for reopening, I think I might still be within stages, because even some of the services that I provide with the headshots and the branding, where I have hair and makeup services come in, I think we're still going to be a while yet before I can service those clients that are waiting for those sessions. So it's still in a little bit of a waiting game, but I've been crazy busy. Good things, clients are still emailing, calling, booking, and so that makes me hopeful. I've booked 2 weddings in this craziness for 2021, because wedding clients are also getting anxious because they realize that there's going to be a double cohort 2021. So, multiple couples vying for the same wedding date. So it's actually pushing bookings, and I'm getting bookings at this time where maybe I wouldn't have had them until later on in the year for 2021. Probably the biggest thing right now is my clients are getting anxious. So my headshot clients, especially businesses that have been able to open, are saying, okay, so can you come and photograph us? Wish I could say yes. So I'm waiting on that still. And then families, with the better weather, blossoms. So my families are also getting anxious. So it's just a matter of keeping them updated and letting them know that I'll get to them, as soon as I can, right? As soon as I have the green light. And then even then it's still going to be, like I said, in stages where I have to, even though someone booked me, it can't be in chronological order or in queue. It has to be, okay, well, what kind of section are they needing? I can't service yet. I'll have to take the person that I can photograph from a distance and not touch and not have hair and makeup, and even numbers. So I shoot extended families of, 12, 16 people. Well, we're still limited to 5. So I'm still waiting.
Right. Thanks, Eleonora. Okay, I think that's everybody. Karen, everybody knows you and loves you, so you can take it away.
So can everybody see the screen? Crystal ball predictions? Beautiful. Okay. Okay. So our agenda for today, I'm going to give you a little bit of a review. I know some of you have been on some previous calls. So I'm going to review a couple of things. Had to check in with Amazon to see what Amazon was doing. Really interesting article about future consumer index, embracing uncertainties. And then I had to add a section called hodgepodge because I just had a really good assortment of stuff that I thought was interesting that I wanted to share with you. And also some Q&A. So I'm really excited for those of you that are inside on this absolutely gorgeous day. So I've made some notes already. As some of you have signed on, I've got some really curated content that I'm going to hope I'll be able to apply to some of your businesses from what I've been doing. So I want to get rid of these pictures here. Okay. So in some of my previous sessions, I talked about the experts are now saying we are in 3 periods. Okay. So respond was the very, very first stages. That ended kind of, I think it was around April 25th. We're now in recovery stage, okay? And that's being defined as when a company learns and emerges stronger. So the next stage is thrive, where the company prepares for and shapes for the next normal. So depending upon where you are legislatively, as whether or not you have been allowed to open or not, I think I would say most of us are still in recovery phase, with some folks transitioning to thrive. Okay, and I think thrive is going to be a topic unto itself. So today I'm still going to be addressing most of my comments to recovery and some of the informal observation that I've been making. I have spent hours and hours researching articles, looking and seeing what the experts are saying, and it's really fascinating. But regardless of whether you're a marketing expert, an accounting expert, everybody is saying a lot of the very same similar things with kind of with an iteration as it pertains to their own sector. But what is common, what is undeniable is the digital economy, okay? So it is not new, okay? It's now. And people start saying, oh, it's going to be the new normal. Well, the way that I look at digitization or functioning in the digital economy is that if you're not there, then you won't be here. Like, we absolutely have to be embraced digital economy with e-commerce, all different types of applications. And the reason I kind of put this up first is that I know that there's some funding available and some people have had access to interest-free loans. I really would encourage people to look at how they could be digitizing their businesses, whether or not that is, like in my case, I got reacquainted with Constant Contact. It's something, it's an email list. I've been meaning to do it for years, finally got around to doing it. I was talking to Jeanette about Zoom. I was like learning all different platforms that maybe would be a fit for you to reach your customer. Investment in e-commerce or digital will not serve you wrong, because this is the way that business is going to be done. So this is a repeat slide for some of you. Basically, it talks about premiumization, and it talks about that consumers are willing to pay more for higher quality safety standards. So what we're seeing is and I'm using my hands here, you guys can't see me, but I'm moving a lot. So what we're seeing is a shift from the value economy to the premiumization economy, where we're going to see consumers willing to pay more for premium products, okay? And there is application here in, I think, a lot of your businesses to develop a premium product, or to be charging a surcharge even for, I wanted to talk about the surcharge. So I don't know if some of you are aware, but some of the businesses that have opened in some of the other provinces are, so I think it was a hair salon. They started charging an optional $2.50 surcharge to help them recover the costs of PPE in their business. So, you know, there's a potential application for some of you. You know, if you have had additional costs, test the appetite for your customers to pay more to help you offset some of your costs. But also, if you can verify that you have had to access a different supply chain, or if you have had to access a different quality product, you know, your customer is willing to pay more for that. And where I think we're going to see this show itself is in the food sector, where, you know, there's going to be a huge resurgence back to local butcheries, local gardeners, and people will pay more knowing that there have been more controlled touch points along that supply chain. So that's kind of what premiumization talks about. And I think, you know, that would be something in your businesses. I would be thinking, is there an opportunity here for me to add a top level product through a specific process? In this slide here, it shows all the different stages of the pandemic. And again, I would say that we are in between stage 5 and 6. In stage 5, it talks about consumer behavior shifts, and it talks about online fulfillment is limited, price concerns rise, there's still limited stock available, and it will impact pricing in some cases. So that's also another rationale to, I think, support higher prices if you are paying more, to communicate that you are passing along some of those price increases to your customers. So under 6, consumer behavior shifts as people return to daily routines, but will operate with a renewed cautiousness about health. Absolutely, absolutely, this is paramount, that the use of e-commerce and hygiene practices, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but through informal observation, for those of you that are on social media, people are not talking about businesses anymore. They're talking about what they observed, their adherence to customer protocols. And we see that, you know, I went out to a grocery store, I saw them wiping down the carts, I saw them sanitizing, I'm going to go back there. And everybody else jumps on board. Conversely, I went somewhere, I didn't see any evidence of, you know, cleaning protocols, I'm not going back. In all of your businesses, customers will return when they have seen that you have made it safe for them, and that you have your own personal safety as paramount and also theirs. And I have a really, really great example, Eleonora, of a photographer and how she communicated that to her clients. So again, if you want customers to return, you have to be absolutely overselling all the ways that you have made it safe for them to return to your business. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but I went and I looked at Amazon because I wanted to see what was happening, because several of you probably have seen the different slides where, you know, you can't buy a bread maker anymore. You can't, you know, flour was a big, huge demand. Bread yeast was a big, huge demand. So what are the other demand areas? So this shows Amazon fulfillment, and it is quite recent. It goes up till the end of March. And what we see here is a huge spike in video games, patio, lawn, and garden furniture, arts, crafts, and sewing, musical instruments, and toys and games. So what's the takeaway from this? Does anybody have a takeaway that they want to share in? I can't see the chat box, so Jeanette, you might have to help me with that. So what's the takeaway? What does this graph mean anything to anybody?
I'm watching the chat.
Okay. So So what it's saying, I think, is that, you know, people are nesting, people are cocooning, people are looking for stuff to do at home. So home improvement, do it yourself, and tools are huge up because people are spending more time at home. The other thing is healthcare and beauty. Again, this kind of surprised me, but these two lines are still the big, huge spikes that Amazon is seeing.
Well, people can't go to the salon and get nails done and all that kind of
Okay,
stuff.
perfect, perfect. And again, it talks about self-care, okay, and how some of these, like the puzzles, like the gardening, like all of these other trends, they're in response to people's increased anxiety levels. And again, that would be something for Melissa and Richard to be incorporating in some of their messages about how the gym can help deal with their, you know, anxiety, self-care, you know, calming, whatever. So, you know, there's some opportunity there. So what is still growing in the Amazon world is patio, lawn and garden, video games, toys and games, arts and crafts, and, you know, like, again, the beauty. Like I kind of missed it because I'm not a beauty person, but it totally makes sense now that that's the response there. So whenever I would say maybe about week 4 after the pandemic had been declared, there was a widely circulated article. I think a lot of you may have seen it, and it talked about, you know, look at how nice we're all living with less. And, you know, we think the world is a better place now because we can see the dolphins and our air pollution quality has increased. And I thought that was really interesting. And I think there was a lot of discussion around, are we changed forever? Will we be strong enough to resist the big brands luring us back to conspicuous consumption? And I found that kind of interesting. And that is what a lot of people have been asking me, you know, what are my thoughts about that? So I don't really know, but I thought, you know, will luxury brands disappear? Like, will there no longer be the need for Gucci purses and Michael Kors, and what will happen? So I looked a little bit to see what luxury brands are planning on doing. And so, I'll read a few things about what they said. So it says, while millennials have been keen buyers of luxury, they may shift their attention to a more durable, less ephemeral take on luxury in the coming recession. So they are talking about what is going to change with conspicuous consumption. So this is interesting. It said luxury brands will have to focus on experiences, storytelling around purpose and values, heritage, and authenticity to remain relevant to their newly discerning customers. So focus on experience, storytelling around purpose and values, keep the heritage and authenticity. So I found that kind of interesting because those would not traditionally be things I would associate with someone who buys a $3,000 purse. So the experts are predicting that where conspicuous consumption may be less acceptable for a short term, it's temporary. And what it talks about is that a lot of the luxury brands were really hit hard with supply chain. So even within the luxury brands, they're going to look at having a more local connection. And that is another theme that shows up in all of the research, that large national brands, multinationals, are now going to look at having a more, I guess, diverse and spread out supply chain. I don't know if that's an opportunity for anyone in particular. Maybe Priscilla, I'm thinking. So, so consumer behavior trends. So this is what, so Ernst & Young is an accounting firm. Like, I've tried to be very cautious of the people that I have taken stock in you know, what they're saying. So this again was a recent international study, and Ernst & Young is a fairly well-known accounting firm, and they have something called Future Consumer Index. So this is what they are showing. So they kind of broke down as of April. So in recovery phase, this is how they attributed the total consumer behavior. So they had cut deep. So it was fairly split, you'll notice. Cut deep, stay calm, carry on, save and stockpile. Pardon me? They made up about 75% of the population. Hibernate and spend. So the recluse spend at, you know, without caution, was only about 10%. So
this is how people were acting during that week?
Yes, leading up to
Okay.
that week.
Okay.
And I'll talk about how it has emerged, okay? So the cut deep, consumers are around more than 45, and almost a quarter had their jobs suspended, and 78% are shopping less frequently, and 65% are only buying essentials. 33% feel that brands are far less important to them in the current climate. So if this is your target customer or your persona, you have work to do, okay? You are buffered here somewhat because this group also has embraced technology the least because of their age, okay? Stay calm, carry on. These are consumers who are not directly impacted, okay? So Eleonora, you had said that you felt this may be your category, that they're on pause, they're continuing to spend as normal, and they're just kind of on hold. They're not really directly affected, okay? Save and stockpile. They feel pessimistic about the future. Again, I would be concerned if this is your target market, because look at the decrease on clothing and leisure. Huge. So, you know, if this is your market, in some ways they've almost disappeared. So this would be a concern, and you would have to have a significant pivot to look at these people.
Is there an age range of these people, Karen?
For save and stockpile, I don't have. Shows particular concern for their families and long-term outlook. So I don't know if this is more age or if this would be more an economic profile.
Okay.
And I would say it may be folks on the lower end of, like, perhaps fixed disabilities. So maybe either seniors or people who are receiving like income support benefits.
Okay.
I'm thinking. This last group, Hibernate and Spend, they're most concerned. Let's see, brands are now more important and they're spending more across the board. So this is millennials, I think. And they haven't really been affected or feel that they've been affected. And their spending has actually increased. So if this is your customer, you know, game on, you're not really affected. But what is happening is that post-pandemic, these groups are emerging. And really all that's happened is that the top group, the cut deep, stay calm, carry on, they're now expanded into the top 3. So you have like a huge kind of band in the middle: stay frugal, get to normal, and cautiously extravagant. And you have a small top end and low end of consumers here. If anybody wants to look at this study, I can add the link into, I don't think I have the link in the resources, but it's an interesting one. So what it says is that in this particular study, it says that another big theme that's coming out is about concerns for privacy. So historically, people are prepared now to trade off sharing their personal data if it would help monitor and track infection. So what's kind of interesting, and I don't know if you guys have seen it in your different groups, is the civil liberties and people who say that their personal rights and freedoms are being challenged through the pandemic. So there's been a shift, and what this means is that people may be more willing to subscribe to emails. People may be more open to sharing personal information if it pertains to the pandemic. Who can be trusted? Care providers. So half of consumers indicated that they will completely trust healthcare providers. Governments, only about 30%, and media, about 16%. So you see, the opportunity would be, you know, if you're in a gym, so like for Richard and Melissa, like if you could have some kind of, what would you call it, a testimonial from somebody in healthcare related to COVID, that would be seen as very, very powerful. And what will consumers value is that time, talent, and natural resources are also being by purpose and social. So what that means for those of you who have done good works during pandemic is that there used to be a term called, I think it was called ethical marketing. And we saw a huge preponderance of businesses donating a portion of their income or doing a special promotion where they were donating money to a food bank or a charity. That is going to continue. So consumers now are going to be more astute as to what they consume and why. They're just not going to be going out, and they're going to be using some of these evaluative measures to decide who they support. So, you know, if you have two businesses identical, it could tip in the balance of the business that has done some good community works and is seen as helping their community. So I found this quote and I really, really liked it. It dealt with embracing uncertainty. And I posted it on my Facebook page because I thought this is kind of what I've been saying for a long time now. And it was why I ended up creating Business Plan Bootcamp, because it was so important that you knew, that you figured out what you didn't know. So this is almost like a bit of like a leadership part. And it talks about, I mean, I'm not a leadership guru by any stretch of the imagination, And I've never kind of, I guess, really understood why. I guess the thing is, I never understood the intersection between leadership and business ownership. But what I have seen in this pandemic is I have seen some business people hugely step up to the plate. So I'm starting to kind of see almost now a formula for who's going to come out this pandemic the other side and be huge game changers in their sector and their industry, even in these small communities. So according to common business wisdom, the best leaders embrace uncertainty, but what does that actually mean? And this is really what it means, is that knowing what you know, knowing what you don't know, and knowing the difference. So this is what we call reframing, getting you ready for the next normal. And it means confronting uncertainty head on and building it into your decision making. And again, you know, I've heard from, oh my gosh, lots and lots of businesses. And the difference between the businesses that are going to come out the other side and actually be better, stronger businesses, and the ones who are not, are the ones who have accepted and got comfortable with the fact that they're living in an uncertain period. There are some business people who that actually shut them down. They absolutely could not deal in that unknown. And I mean, I have to say, I like control. I hate using the C word, but I do like to control my environment. But I think realizing and kind of giving up control was one of the first things that I did in my business. But I think it's made me a better business person. So I want to talk about a couple of things about this embracing uncertainty. And it talks a little bit about leadership, but I think it addresses what I've seen in some businesses and how they are so much more confident. And some of you are on this call that I think of. I'm so impressed with what some of the things are that you've done. So consider uncertainty in different timelines. So what this means is that this is kind of a big picture thinking, is that depending on the world we live in our relevant industries, we're asking how long this is going to last or what the nature of the rebound might be. At the same time, we need to consider the contours and the shape of recovery. What sectors are going to come out ahead? What sectors are going to recede? How might our collective experience with this pandemic reshape the world? Big picture. What's the next normal going to look like? Will new habits that are flourishing or required under COVID-19 disappear or go forward? Maintaining, thinking about this is preparing us. So, the first thing that I noticed in people is that they stopped and they were able to, yes, I'm upset, yes, I'm stressed. But at some point in the respond phase, they were able to kind of put that in a box and put it away and say, shit, I got to get down here and do some serious thinking. So this is one of the first characteristics that I've seen of people who I think are going to do good. They are able to say, okay, I can't control it. Okay, I still don't know, but I've got to get down here and do some planning. And this is like big picture planning, okay? So in the most important uncertainties, and the other thing is that a lot of business people got really, really overwhelmed with the world and everything that was happening. And yes, I totally get that. But why would you waste your energy on things that have got nothing to do with your business? So the next thing I saw was that everything is uncertain. But what uncertainties are most critical to your business? So in the immediate term, it looked, you had to do the necessary things, right? Like lock down, make sure you were safe and healthy. Exactly. But then you had to move along and you had to go into where most of you are and look at, you know, what do I have to do to become forward looking? And I call that the continuum shift. And again, a lot of businesses got stuck here. They could not become forward looking in their thinking because they had huge issues. You know, they couldn't get product, blah, blah, blah. And again, it completely shut down a lot of business people. So those that were able to shift and start forward thinking, no matter how ugly it was, again, these are people that are going to come out the other side. So the other thing is getting comfortable with the uncertainty. And one thing that I've often talked about is scenario building. So one of the very, very first things I did was I said, you know, develop a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day scenario to see, you know, if you're not open, I mean, and who knew that it's going to be longer than 90 days for some people. But the thing is, the uncertainty has absolutely crippled some businesses. But what is really useful and how to organize things is to use scenarios. And what you do is you say, what's the worst thing that could happen? If this happens, this is how I'm going to respond. If this and this happens, this is how I will respond. So using scenarios and looking at things you expect to happen, things that may happen, and oh my God, what if we have a second and a third wave and we all get shut down again? But working with scenarios allows you to organize your thinking, okay? So again, people who can organize their thoughts rather than letting their thoughts about uncertainty control them are going to be the ones that will come out again. And the thing is, this makes you discipline. It helps you organize the thoughts and actually gives you a template of what kinds of things you could be building. And what I call this is, I kind of call this brain gymnastics. It's, if this happens, and it forces you to think, but again, it's very constructive, okay? And what may happen as a result of this brain gymnastics is you may see something using this way of thinking that you wouldn't have uncovered any other way, okay? And this is something that has happened in my business recently. I had this huge light bulb moment, and now I know what I have to do. And I probably wouldn't have found it without this, doing this experience. So
Karen,
the other,
Karen,
yeah,
just to let you know, we've got about just over 10 minutes left.
Yep. So seeking diverse perspectives, but again, this talks about seeking people outside your business, and especially if they don't know anything about your business, they can give some really interesting perspective. Incorporate scenarios into decision making, and again, this is again another template for using those scenarios. You know, what do you have to do? What, you know, if you have to place a big bet, like what do you consider a risky move? So again, so this is what people are doing who are planning their comeback stronger. And again, then you have to make choices. And this is the easiest part. Making the choice is actually the easiest part. It's getting up to this point where you make choices. So I wanted to show you this. Eleanor, I thought of you. So this is an example of a baby photographer and how she communicated kind of all the protocols that will be in place. So again, I said earlier, it's important for you to get back the confidence of your clients. So, you know, post this, send them out and have a protocol. Like this would make me comfortable if I saw this, and then even more comfortable if it was being adhered to. So we talked about kind of some generalities. Customers are cautious. There's this thing called the COVID-19 hangover. They're not going out yet. They want to know that your product and services is that you are assuring them that it's safe. They want transparency, a huge revisit to local origins, because they're looking for a minimum number of touch points, a minimum number of opportunities for that product or service to become infected. So technology is huge in this, huge. We're seeing like more direct to consumer transactions. And what this means is that in some cases, the middleman is going to be ruled out. I mean, why would I order from the shoe warehouse running room in Kingston whenever I can go online and order direct from Saucony or Asics or New Balance? Okay. So if you are kind of a middleman, if there is an opportunity for customers to order your product directly, then what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have communicated the value equation that you provide, okay? The other thing that's going to be happening here is that in some industries, there is such little margin left that you're going to see grocery stores doing their own deliveries. You're going to see the staff do, I think, a whole new range of functions. I think there may be less contracted out decisions. I just wanted to show you this because I thought this was a really good illustration. So this is an office reconfiguring their capacity restrictions. So for a store, this is the starting point of a discussion about how they are going to configure. And if they have lost half of their sales or half their seating, what does that look like? What are the strategies for them to be in the same kind of profit sector, or look at taking in the same amount of money, or still kind of being in the same net profit? So this is what is going on in a lot of restaurants and bars and offices where like selling is going on. So the consumer landscape has changed. It's so important to be authentic and build trust. Customers are going to remember how you treated them. And the huge opportunity is that it's not just your customers that are looking at you now, it's everyone. And that's, I think, part of the huge opportunity, that people are evaluating you who've never even dealt with you before. And I think I heard Richard say that, that, you know, you've kind of picked up some customers. Gyms are being singled out as one of the most successful sectors that have transitioned to full virtual training. So there's going to be a huge glut of commercial real estate because offices and businesses are functioning quite well with the work from home option. So they're not going to go back. So I'm a case in point. I had an office in Smiths Falls with an agency, and they've given it up. I'm going to be completely work from home. And so there's going to be lots of commercial real estate that's going to become available. There may be, you know, some cost, like some cost reviews to even having the overhead of a gym with what you may lose in your physical clients compared to your virtual clients. So that might be something, you know, to be thinking about for you, Melissa, as well. You know, how much money will that gym actually bring you in compared to what it's costing you? So those are some of the resources. I do have to update this list. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody?
I did like your comment about you know, kind of shopping local, trying to keep the business here. I've been trying to rack my brain on how to get that word out there too, you know, shop local, support the small businesses, you know. I really don't know how to kind of try to spread that word or reinforce that with the community.
Put it on everything. Put it
Well,
on everything.
yeah, that's what I thought of, coming up with some little stickers or, you know, bumper stickers, something, you know, just try to, you know,
And
get people shopping.
say
Yeah,
how we will deliver this safely, or how this is manufactured safely. How,
yeah,
like, it is about consumer confidence. And you know what? We think it's common sense. You have to keep pushing that message out. How it's going to be safe, because this is the whole thing. Every marker of return is based upon consumer confidence and them feeling it is safe to go back and get your product or services. So you have to drive that conversation. You have to say, you know, local produced, will be delivered, you know, sanitized, whatever, like, keep pushing that message out that it is safe, and, you know, what the protocols are that you follow to make sure that it is safe. You know, post a sign. Like, people want to see it, and keep pushing that kind of thing out. And I mean, it seems like it's overkill, but it's not. That is what people are looking for.
yeah. Unfortunately, the whole Amazon, you know, thing has really taken over, particularly now in this. So it's so easy for people to sit there in their pajamas and things come right to their door, you know. I also deliver to your door or to your place of business, you know, but yeah,
Then
that's what
put
we
it
got to
out
get out
there.
there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Keep pushing the buy local, support local. It's
Yeah.
the sentiment is out there. Derek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just want to comment, because Chris and I really deliberated when we started sort of going through the, as you said, the scenarios for reopening. And one thing that he's very adamant about, because this is our home, we're being actually even hyper sensitive for not wanting an unsafe sort of scenario. And I know that our numbers locally are very low. But having said that, I feel for people that are wanting to be safe and who are wanting to be assured, and that, because like Chris and I, thank goodness we didn't freak out at the same time, but we were about a week apart. But it was just the it was fear. It was the fear that was rooting in us, that we just finally had to say, you know what, we're in control of what we're doing, and we have to make this something that we are comfortable with, and we will promote that, so that when you become comfortable in what you're doing, then you have confidence, and that's what you need to start telling people about. Now, eventually we might change how we do things, you know, but like, that's okay, but we got to start somewhere. And anyway, I just needed to say that.
So, so the other thing is, you know, good for you guys for keeping in touch, continuing to network, to, you know, be reaching out, because, like, again, there's a pattern. Strong businesses get stronger, and it has been really tough, but again, I am seeing a really clear indicator of what businesses are going to come out and take opportunity and run with it once this is over. And what I said in one of my meetings is that, you know, not everyone is going to emerge from this pandemic. There are going to be businesses that will close. So who's going to pick up those customers? You guys will. So honestly, when we talk about thrive, which is the next stage, it's you guys. So be ready and understand what thrive looks like, because I don't know who I like. Honestly, sometimes these Zoom meetings all kind of like meld together. But you know, somebody said it's going to be like the Wild Wild West, when you had all these covered wagons go out and there was all this uncharted territory and people started putting spikes in the ground. And that is what is going to happen in businesses, because people have changed. Key players are leaving. Like, and even in your own communities, people have done some really bad, dumb things, and I've seen them. So their customers are no longer their customers. They're going to be looking for new suppliers. They're going to be looking for you guys. So, you know, just keep doing what you're doing and keep your profile strong and up there. And I think you're going to emerge with even more opportunity than you had going in. And if you talk to anybody about recovery, that's what they're saying. Like, I'm optimistic for some businesses. So
yeah, I'd just like to say, one of the things I did recently was we started getting calls and started getting messages and emails from people wondering when we're going to open. And because we're not phase one, we, you know, had been responding more individually. So yesterday I put out a video on our Facebook page saying, hey guys, just an update. Yeah, we're still closed. We weren't included in phase one. And I think I was just really open that, listen, it's not going to look the same. It's not going to be the same procedures. We've been using the time to put in barriers. We've been reviewing hand hygiene. We've been doing all these things behind the scenes. And I also said, as we get to know these things, you'll know what we know. And I think just being open that, listen, I don't have the answers. I'm waiting on the answers from the people who give them to us. And I'm thinking even of you, Eleonora, same thing, saying, listen, yeah, we can't do these, you know, big group stuff right now. We have to wait and see. But being honest with people and being like, I don't know the answers, but when I know, you'll know. And that's kind of the point of my video I did yesterday was, I don't have the answers. I'm only going with what the standards are that we have. We'll open when those are ready and safe. But, you know, I value honesty and authenticity. And I think people who are your consumers are big values of that too.
absolutely. And keep showing people what you're doing. Like, if you've got a new certification to better be able to serve you, for all you guys that are painting, Carol, you're painting to be better prepared for whenever they come back. Everything has got value, or you can put that bend on it of how it's going to better prepare your business for them. So, you know, if you've been reading, if you've been taking courses, if you've been all those things, there's value to sharing that with your customer. You know, I think, because Caitlin, there's lots of RMTs that have just disappeared. I have not heard from them in 3 months. Can't do that. Cannot do that. So keep out in front, people. Okay, is that good, Jeanette? Oh, unmute.
Can't hear.
She's in.
Oh, there we
Still
go.
muted.
I froze for a minute. Thank you so much, Karen, for your insights today. It's always cool to hear what you've been reading and your insights that you've created from that. Derek wants to know if there's a COVID compliant logo. I've never heard of one. Has anybody heard of one?
What does that mean?
Just
What do you
wondering
mean by
if,
that, Derek?
if there was something that is out there or that I could create that people could post, you know, either on their product, on their storefront, on their page, meaning, yes, we're enforcing the social distancing, we're, you know, we're making people wear the appropriate PPE where required. So just
So it's a
thinking,
declaration,
Or like a stamp.
a declaration, a stamp of approval that I'm COVID
something
compliant.
I didn't know if there's
I love
nothing,
it.
you know.
I think it's great. I think you should create one.
I think that's a great idea. And even if you had it so that it was like a check mark, kind of like a seal of approval, all
Yeah,
you know, that would be really cool.
but I just don't know who would put that check mark on it. You know, I mean,
I'd be afraid of the accountability of that, though. You know,
right,
if
right,
somebody gets a whole bunch, they can plaster it on everything, even if they're not compliant. That'd
right.
be my only concern. And that's more coming from healthcare because we have a lot of really strict stuff going on.
Yeah, I wonder
Retail
if
being
we,
a little more flexible.
yeah, if it could be, we're doing our part to
That'd
be
be even easier. Yeah.
COVID compliant or something. Not that we are with a check possibly. Yeah, I just wondering, you know, people might like that or feel a little more at ease. I don't know.
I like it.
Let me know when you get something going. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, I agree with Caitlin though. Yeah, we don't want to set ourselves up for, you know, any kind of issues that way.
Liability.
Yeah,
I mean,
It's not like you'd be held liable though, Derek.
fair enough. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess we could say something like we're doing our part to follow or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Wrap my head around.
the other route you could go, you could create something temporary, we're doing our part, but then you could go to the health unit and say, can I create a logo for you? And help you with signage.
Love it.
Leeds Grenville, Leeds Lanark, Grenville Health Unit, seal of approval.
Good idea.
That's a great idea. Because then they become an authorizing body.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's 12:06.
Yep. And Derek, I'll get back to you with who to touch base with the city about a little bit of a sign campaign.
Okay,
We'll
fair
have to
enough.
think about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
fair enough.
Take
Thank
care,
you.
everybody.
Thanks,
Karen.
everybody. Next week is, we have O'Farrell Financial coming on next week, and they're going to be talking about making personal and business plans financially for yourselves. It's on the website, some more detail. So we'll see you next week.
Thank
And
you.
what,
Thanks very
Jeanette,
much,
is that
Karen.
going to be the same link and the same number for the meeting?
Correct.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.